Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah and I am an astrologer and I make videos all about astrology. Okay, so in today's video we're going to be discussing the 5 things that you need to know about this new moon in Leo taking place on the 28th of July 2022, so stay tuned. But before we dive into today's video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and click the bell. And if you're interested in a personal reading, you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can find my Practical Astrology ebooks and merch. All the links will be in the description box below. Alright, so I do hope that you find this video to be helpful. Let's do this. So the first thing you need to know about this new moon in Leo taking place on the 28th of July 2022 is that it will conjunct the sun in Leo at 5 degrees. And the number 5 in numerology represents things like adventure, freedom, charisma, indulgence, fun, high energy, exploration, independence, and just being outgoing. And the thing about Leo is that it's a pretty energetic and lively sign. They can be the life of the party and they love doing things that are pleasurable, things they enjoy, things that get them to let their hair down and run wild. Not to mention they can be charismatic, charming, and super expressive. From the clothes they wear to the things they post on social media, they love to express themselves. And they also enjoy entertaining others. And if they're really excited and happy, they can be full of energy. They can be warm and generous. Therefore, perhaps these themes, they come up during this new moon in Leo for you. Maybe you think about the fun and spontaneity in your life, or maybe you reflect upon the things you enjoy and love, those things that light you up and make your heart sing. And as you do, you set new intentions, you plant new seeds, or maybe you wish to express yourself in a whole new way. Or you set out to create something vibrant and fun. Then again, perhaps you embrace more play, or you set new intentions to do with your inner child. Basically, there is this rush of energy and we want to feel upbeat and joyous. We feel like letting our hair down and just living in the moment and being somewhat carefree. We feel like doing things that make us happy. Perhaps we reflect on things like happiness, joy, playfulness, entertainment, romance, creativity, and liveliness. And perhaps we also set intentions regarding our self-expression and self-assurance. Maybe being confident is our key to success. Our confidence shows and attracts great things to us. All right, so on that note, let's get into these signs. So let's say this new moon is taking place in your 3rd house. So looking at you Gemini, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on the joy you experience when it comes to your studies and education. Maybe you set new intentions to do with your creative mind, or you feel a greater need to express yourself in a whole new way. Or maybe you add to what you have already created when it comes to your communication, so how you communicate, or when it comes to your education as well. Perhaps you reconnect with the enjoyable parts of learning, with those you reconnect with those subjects and topics that truly light you up, and perhaps also you reconnect with the enjoyable parts of teaching. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 11th house, so looking at you Libra, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on the happiness you experience when it comes to your friendships and your communities. Maybe you set new intentions to do with your individuality within groups, or you feel a greater need to express yourself amongst your friends and teams. Or maybe you add to what you have already created when it comes to your networks and group participations. It could be that you reconnect with the fun and playful parts of your hopes and dreams. You focus on the future directions that feel good. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 7th house, so looking at you Aquarius, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on the aliveness you experience when it comes to your relationships and your partnerships. Maybe you set new intentions to do with love and warmth and enjoyment and pleasure. So looking at how these different qualities play out within your relationships. Or maybe you feel a greater need to express yourself around others. Then again, you might add to what you have already created when it comes to your relationships. Perhaps you decide to reconnect with the romantic or lively parts of companionship. You focus on the moments that make you smile. The second thing you need to know about this new moon in Leo is that both the sun and moon in Leo will trine Jupiter in Aries right before Jupiter stations retrograde in the sign of Aries a few hours later. And so this part is pretty important. This aspect is pretty important because this is sort of like our last chance to work with that Jupiter energy before it stations retrograde for the next 4 months. Not to mention, these are 2 fire signs being activated. So these are Leo and Aries. And then the ruling planet of Sagittarius being Jupiter, and Sagittarius being the final fire sign, well, that is in Aries. And so therefore, this new moon in Leo might be action-packed. We might feel driven and unstoppable. We might have big creative passions and aspirations, or we might feel bold and daring enough to express ourselves, even if others disapprove. Or we might be willing to ask bigger picture questions about our lives. Now keep in mind, Jupiter rules our higher meaning and the sun rules our purpose. And so perhaps we truly reflect on where our life is headed. We reflect on our purpose and our higher meaning. Maybe we also dive into a few subconscious and emotional things. We want to seek deeper awareness and understanding of ourselves. It's important to learn more about ourselves so we can expand and grow. And perhaps we also learn more about our character. We look at things like strength, dignity, pride, egotism, heroism, and self-acceptance. And we might set new intentions regarding our strengths and positive qualities. Essentially, during this new moon, perhaps we experience a lot of self-reflection right before Jupiter stations retrograde. And during the Jupiter retrograde, we really will revisit our meaning and future aspirations. And also, we might wish to indulge a lot during this new moon. We might seek more excitement and enthusiasm. So on that note, be aware of going too far, being too eager or going overboard. Also be aware of any boastful and overly competitive behaviors. So let's say this new moon is taking place in your 4th house. So looking at you Taurus, sun, moon and risings. Jupiter in Aries will transit your 12th house. And so perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on fun and play when it comes to your family and your home life. Maybe you feel a greater need to express your emotions, but at the same time, you reflect on the higher meaning of your spiritual views and practices. You do a bit of soul searching. And as you do, you set new intentions or you add to what you have explored so far. You might also escape for long periods of time, or you might enjoy your own company. Perhaps this time alone gives you greater insight. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 12th house, so looking at you Virgo sun, moon and risings. Jupiter in Aries will transit your 8th house, and so perhaps during this new moon you reflect on enjoyment when it comes to your alone time and spiritual practices. Maybe you feel a greater need to express how you truly feel through art or music and so on. And at the same time, you reflect on the higher meaning of your shared resources and joint finances. You can see how things can expand and grow. And as you do, you set new intentions or you add to what you have gained so far. You might also feel positive about the future when it comes to your intimate relationships, or you might feel good about how things are just growing. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 8th house, so looking at you Capricorn sun, moon and risings. Jupiter in Aries will transit your 4th house, and so perhaps during this new moon you reflect on happiness when it comes to your intimate relationships and transformations. Maybe you feel a greater need to express yourself intensely or sexually, or you feel like you can be vulnerable with those you trust. And at the same time, you reflect on the higher meaning of your family/home life. You feel appreciative of your loved ones, and as you do, you set new intentions or you add to what you have discovered so far. You might feel greater faith in your family, or you might openly share your wisdom with them. The third thing you need to know about this new moon in Leo is that the sun and moon in Leo will oppose Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. Okay, so we might experience some power struggles during this new moon. So power struggles when it comes to these joyous and happier emotions that I previously mentioned. Perhaps there is a part of us that feels restricted or limited or blocked in some way, as if we're being held back. Maybe it's fear that holds us back, fears about the future. Maybe we fear that our happiness will be short-lived, and so we think, well, there's not much point in getting excited or enjoying the moment. It's as if there is this fun-sucking part of us that sits within our psyche. It tells us not to put ourselves out there because others will try to hurt us or steal our thunder. It tells us that others are making fun of us. They are laughing at us and not with us. Basically, there's also a likelihood of us experiencing paranoia or suspicious behaviors. We might be cynical or we might be extremely critical and self-defeating. And it's these things that can impact our ability to achieve and accomplish. We might think others are out to get us when in actuality it's us holding ourselves back. And if there are people who want to tear us down, it's up to us to have the confidence and power within ourselves to not give in and tear ourselves down in the process. It's important to not let others define who we are. And this is something I mentioned in my Leo season Instagram post the other day. So this idea of not taking the opinions and views of others too personally, both the negative and the positive. Often the views of others are a them thing rather than a you thing, meaning that their opinions are often a reflection of themselves. But like I said, this also includes the positive feedback, the positive opinions. Now at the same time, yes, there are times when self-reflection is a good idea. Sometimes others have a point and listening to them can be beneficial for our self-growth. But my point is to be aware of this likelihood of fear holding us back during this new moon and how much too often it's us who gets in our own way. So let's say this new moon is taking place in your 5th house. So looking at you Aries, sun, moon and risings. Pluto retrograde will transit your 10th house, and so perhaps during this new moon you reflect on the enjoyment you experience when it comes to your romantic relationships. Or maybe you feel a greater need to express yourself through your art and your creations. And at the same time, you consider how things like fear and self-destruction can hold you back within your career. You can get in your own way. Perhaps there are incredible things you want to accomplish and achieve and even change within your profession, but perhaps it's important to have confidence in yourself to go through those transformations. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your first house, so looking at you, Leo, sun, moon, and risings. Pluto retrograde will transit your sixth house, and so maybe during this new moon, you reflect on the joy you experience when it comes to your life path and your identity. Maybe you feel a greater need to express yourself through your appearance or through your mannerisms, through how you come across. And at the same time, you consider how things like self-defeat and paranoia can hold you back within your working life. You can get in your own way in this respect. Perhaps there are amazing things you want to accomplish and change at work, but perhaps it's important to have confidence in yourself to go through those transformations. The fourth thing you need to know about this new moon in Leo is that Mercury in Leo will square Uranus in Taurus whilst the new moon is taking place. Now, Mercury recently entered Leo on July 19th, so for the last week or so, perhaps we've been communicating with more enthusiasm and liveliness. Maybe we want our conversations to be more playful and dramatic. But with the square to Uranus in Taurus, perhaps during this new moon, we feel slightly uncomfortable because maybe others think that we're kind of weird or strange for saying things that are seen as pretty out there or different. Maybe others look at us and they have their certain opinions and judgments, or maybe there's a great deal of humor actually involved here. We might say something outlandish, but others find us to be funny and entertaining. Perhaps we are willing actually to laugh things off. Then again, well, maybe we disrupt things and shake things up when conversing with others. Or maybe we get others to think differently. We challenge their thoughts, or our thoughts are challenged too, even if things seem a bit unusual or weird at first. Or these changes can represent conversations we have with ourselves, So, looking at new ideas and just deciding for ourselves to do things differently. Now, keep in mind that on the 1st of August, Uranus, the North Node, and Mars in Taurus will make an 18-degree conjunction representing a big turning point. We might want to break free from anything that makes us feel stagnant and anything that's just too familiar, anything that makes us feel stuck. There's this great desire to change our physical environment for the better, and we won't listen to others who tell us otherwise. We will commit to our financial and physical changes, and we'll add our unique twist. And so during this new moon, when Mercury in Leo squares Uranus in Taurus, perhaps your ideas are flowing. We get our creative mind and our inventive wheels turning. But as I say, we also experience a bit of chaos, a bit of unpredictability, and some of those strange looks. So, let's say this new moon is taking place in your 9th house, looking at you, Sagittarius, sun, moon, and risings. Mercury will transit your 9th house and Uranus will transit your 6th house. And so perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on the happiness you experience when it comes to long distance travel or higher education, or maybe you feel a greater need to express your beliefs and your philosophical views. You want to share and communicate with pride and confidence. And at the same time, you consider the changes and progress you wish to make regarding your daily routines and work. Maybe some ideas you have take others by surprise, but you can also find humor in things. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 2nd house, so looking at you, Cancer, sun, moon, and risings. Mercury will transit your 2nd house and Uranus will transit your 11th house. And so during this new moon, perhaps you reflect on the joy you experience when it comes to your finances and your belongings and your materials, your financial security. Maybe you want to feel good about your physical security, or maybe you feel a greater need to express your value and your skills. You want to talk about your talents with confidence. And at the same time, you consider the changes and progress you wish to make regarding your communities and your networks. Maybe some ideas you have seem unusual, but you are also willing to laugh things off. And the fifth and final thing you need to know about this new moon in Leo taking place on the 28th of July 2022 is that Mercury in Leo will actually oppose Saturn retrograde in Aquarius whilst it's taking place. Okay, so with this opposition, perhaps doubts and insecurities can interfere with our joy. So with the Pluto retrograde opposition, we talked about fears and paranoia and how these things can impact our ability to achieve. And with the Saturn retrograde opposition, perhaps it's our doubts and our insecurities that can impact our willingness to join in and just communicate what we think as individuals. And so with this opposition, remember your place within the tribe. You have a unique role to play within any group you're a part of. Try not to let your insecurities block you from being a part of the group, but then again, easier said than done. And we all have our own individual experiences, but the point is, it's often our self-doubt that can limit us, that can hold us back. Like I was saying at the very beginning, confidence just might be our key to success. So let's say this new moon is taking place in your 10th house. So looking at you Scorpio, sun, moon and risings. Mercury will transit your 10th house and Saturn retrograde will transit your 4th house. And so during this new moon, maybe you reflect on aliveness, the aliveness you experience when it comes to your profession or your public image. Or maybe you feel a greater need to express how you think things should be performed. Maybe you communicate a few professional ideas, and at the same time, you consider how things like self-doubt and insecurity can limit you within your family/home life. Maybe it's that there are things you've been building on, working toward, but being patient is important, even if there are setbacks and obstacles. But then let's say this new moon is taking place in your 6th house. So looking at you Pisces, sun, moon and risings, Mercury will transit your 6th house and Saturn retrograde will transit your 12th house. And so during this new moon, perhaps you reflect on fun and play when it comes to your working life and your daily routines, or maybe you feel a greater need to express how you think things should be improved or reorganized. Maybe you communicate just a few adjustment ideas. And at the same time, you consider how things like self-doubt and insecurity can limit you within your spiritual life. They can also impact any potential addictions you have. Perhaps there are things you've been working on internally, and slowly trusting the process is important. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video on the 5 things you need to know about this new moon in Leo taking place on the 28th of July 2022. Please let me know if you did find this video to be helpful. I would really appreciate that. And as always, let me know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section. But with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye! Happy new moon!